Well, hey everybody. Welcome to Birmingham Bible Church's Winning Wednesday. And as always, we are just so glad you could join us here on today from wherever you are. If you are in Birmingham, we pray that you are safe from yet another round of storms. Pray that you are safe. We pray that your family is safe. And if you're from any other state, we welcome you as well. And we pray that everything is going well with you. And so it's Winning Wednesday, y'all. And so, as we always like to say, we are declaring that we are winners and that we have the victory in every area of our lives. So, do us a favor, if you can please share this broadcast with someone you know. You can share it on Facebook. We're on Periscope. We are on YouTube under BHAM BC. We're on Twitter. And just tell somebody about this information that's going on today. We have been celebrating women all month long, and it's been great. It's been exciting. I have learned a lot. I know you have learned a lot because it is National Women's History Month. Every Sunday, Pastor Mason has been doing the Power of a Woman series. And so you can go back and watch those. And then every Wednesday, we have had some great speakers. We have had speakers to talk about our business, talk about entrepreneurship, our physical fitness, our self-care. And we just enjoy just really educating you all. And I've been educated on just how to be better because, believe it or not, we have to be physically fit in order to have the business, in order to be able to run those marathons, be able to walk around the house, take somebody to football practice. We have to be physically fit. And I've heard years ago that, and there was an expression that was said that we are what we eat. And so I know a lot of times when we eat certain foods, we may feel kind of sluggish, kind of bloated because of something that we ate. And so, ladies, if we got to balance all this stuff, we're going to have to be able to make sure we are putting some good, nutritious foods in our bodies because we know that what we eat sometimes affects our mood, affects our energy level. We go through a lot of things. We go through having children, we go through hormonal changes. And so we need to just make sure that we have a good foundation so we can keep running and keep running. And so I have on today, this is the last episode. This is the last broadcast dealing with our women but it is not the least. I met Larissa when we got introduced to Cooking Well group through a mutual friend called her name is Judy, and it's just turned out to be a blessing because through that Cooking Well group, we learned how to really cook healthy foods for our family. It's been a great experience. We learned about inflammation, all kind of stuff, diabetes, heart disease, and really learned how to we educate ourselves on it, then learn how to make sure we're cooking foods that are not leading up to it. So I am just excited about Larissa today. So I have introduced her and I have talked enough. So I'm going to let her have her way. Miss Larissa, how are you doing today?
I am well. I am weathering the storm. So where I live, I have a sunroom. So if it gets a little loud, let me know.
Yes,
Um, hopefully, I was saying to Lady Pam, I was like, I'm praying that my internet stays on and my power stays on just for one more hour, then it can go out. It's fine. But yeah, I am just so thankful for being here. Like Lady Pam said, we met through Cooking Well, and the blessing has been reciprocated because you and the ladies that I've met through Cooking Well have just absolutely changed my life for the better. I know you're going on to make healthy change in so many people's lives as well. So it's always fun and always an honor to connect with you guys and be able to collaborate. So I'm super excited to be here today. All right, so can I share my screen, I guess?
yes, yeah, go ahead
All
and
right.
yeah.
Go ahead and share my screen and we can jump right in. And I've told Lady Pam this, but I will share it with all of you. There is the comment section at the bottom, and Lady Pam will be manning that. So I welcome interruption. I love interruption. That's a sign that the wheels are turning. So if you have any questions, don't feel like you have to wait till the end. If you think you might forget about it, just pop it right into the question box, and we will do our best to get it answered for you. So like Lady Pam said, my name is Larissa Strath. I am actually a fifth year PhD candidate at the University of Alabama at Birmingham. And something interesting about me is I'm actually not from Birmingham. I am actually from Toronto, Canada. And a lot of people say, well, how did you end up getting down here? And I'm always like, definitely God, because you go from Toronto to, at that point, Montgomery. I actually got a soccer scholarship, moved to Montgomery in 2012, literally knew nothing about the South. And I remember my mom saying that they just dropped me off in this unknown place and drove away. And she was like, what is going on? And it was not a mistake. It was not a bad choice because I've obviously loved it. I ended up staying. I graduated in 2016 with my Bachelor of Science in pre-medicine, and I minored in chemistry. And then again, through divine intervention, ended up at UAB, where I study diet modulation of pain and immune system modulation of pain. So I basically look at how the foods that we eat can either promote or reduce pain through our immune system with inflammation. So that's a little bit about me and my background. So I'm technically not a nutritionist or dietitian by trade. I like to surround myself with them because I always need to pick their brains and their expertise. I am a neuroscientist by trade, and we like to feed off of each other. But so I've surrounded myself with a lot of great women who know a whole lot about nutrition, and they've helped me form my knowledge. So I hope I do them justice. A few of them I'm going to mention throughout this.
Larissa, you know just as much as anybody else, I'm telling you. So you go ahead.
Oh yeah. I know. So we will get started. So a woman in her nutrition. So enjoying the blessing that is your food. A lot of the times when we talk about food, especially when I talk to women about food, they always give me this look of like, Oh, yeah, food. It's this kind of love-hate relationship. I love the way it tastes. I hate the way it makes me feel. I know I should be eating a certain way. Um, but I don't know how, and I don't think I can. I don't have time. That's a lot. Well, I hear from a lot of them, especially moms with young kids, is I don't have time to do that. I've got to go to football practice. I've got to go to piano practice. I've got to do this. How do I do this? How do I balance it all? And then, as we were talking about earlier, we have to invest in ourselves and our nutrition. And women, especially with the role that we play in society, need to be investing in that. So, what I'm going to do today is submit 3 thoughts to you about women and their nutrition, and then we'll go into a little more detail on some specifics. So, first, a little check-in. How's your day going? I always like to start whenever I have a presentation to start with gratitude practice. Have an attitude of gratitude. What are 3 simple things you're thankful for? While you are thinking of yours, I'll tell you mine. So for me, it was my cup of coffee this morning. Uh, I wake up and I immediately go to the coffee pot because I need that in order to function. I am very thankful for the rain. Even though there's a storm, I know that the rain is going to give nutrients to the soil in order to grow the food that I'm going to eat. And then I'm also just extremely thankful and grateful to be here. And we'll just pop right into it. So a few 3 thoughts just to start. So a woman and her nutrition makes a difference. So why is it important to even think about your nutrition? Well, your nutrition makes a difference. So we were put on this earth for a reason. I don't have to tell you that. And we were put on this earth with a divine purpose and calling. And in order for us to fulfill that purpose, we need to make sure that we are in tip-top shape through all the things that we've talked about all month long, through physical activity, through our passions, through our businesses and entrepreneurship, through physical activity, through self-care, and through nutrition, so that we can pour out into others. So we have to invest in ourselves in order to invest in others. My favorite analogy I like to use in cooking well is a car analogy. And I always ask people, I'm like, well, what do you put in a car to give it fuel? And they all say, well, gas, duh. I'm like, well, what would happen when you put, water into it, or Skittles, or something like that? They all go, well, the car wouldn't run. It just wouldn't work. And then I say, well, why are you having any other expectation about your body? Why are you putting the wrong thing in your body and expecting it to work at max capacity? So we have to, in order to make a difference in our friends' lives, our families' lives, and the world's life, we have to have the right fuel. And personally, choosing healthy foods and drinks can often prevent and manage a lot of health problems that affect women. And I will touch on those here in a second. And what's really interesting is that studies actually show that when a woman eats healthy, everyone in her household eats healthier. So this doesn't matter what the relationship is. It could be a father-daughter relationship, mother and her children, grandmother and her grandkids, a wife and her husband, a sister, a roommate, anybody. The studies have shown that regardless of that relationship, if you live with a woman who eats healthy, you're more likely to eat healthy. So we've got a lot of power in that. And with great power comes great responsibility. So we, with our nutrition, can make a difference in more ways than one. A woman and her nutrition are unique. This is something that I'm very passionate about educating women about, is that your nutritional needs are very, very unique. So one, your metabolism. Women's metabolisms, we process foods differently than men. We have different nutritional requirements compared to men. And we often need fewer calories than men. Calories is, again, another one of those words where people go, oh, it's a scary word. Another thing I want to hopefully leave you with today is that calories aren't anything to be afraid of. They are just a word used to tell you how much energy you're going to get from a food. So I know for a fact that as a woman, have a lot of pressure from society when it comes to body image, and often calories get really tied in with that, and they've gotten a really bad reputation to the point where a lot of women cut calories to the point where it's really unhealthy, and they have a really bad relationship with calories, and they think that less is better. In reality, the right amount is the best. Again, going back to the car, you don't overfill your car. You're told not to top off your car. You're told to fill it to the correct amount for it to work. And for women, that's about 2,000 calories a day. I know a lot of people, when I do my research, are not meeting that mark. And that's for the average sedentary woman. Men, it's about 2,500 calories a day. Now, this is a rough estimate. This also varies by height, weight, and activity level. So if you're interested in, looking more into that, there's tons of resources out there that can help you calculate what your caloric intakes might be. Vitamins and minerals. So there's 3 vitamins and minerals that are super, super important. They're all important, but especially for women, and that's calcium, iron, and folic acid. And they are very important for women's health, and especially leading into our reproductive health. So this is where it gets very unique, not just, between genders or between sexes, but very unique over the course of your lifespan, the women's lifespan. So we have different nutritional needs at every stage of our life. So when we're a child, pre-reproductive years, when we enter into our adolescence and we are, at our reproductive years, we have another set of nutritional needs. Then if we choose to go on and have children when we're pregnant and we're breastfeeding, you're supplying energy for 2 people. You need to be eating more. You need to be eating differently. And then when you hit menopause, what happens when you hit menopause? Everything changes. When we meet in Cooking Well, that's one of the top things people ask is like, I feel like my body is not my body anymore when I've gone through menopause. And it's like, well, you're probably treating your body the way that you were treating it when you weren't in menopause, and it needs to be cared for differently now. It's not wrong or anything bad, it's just different, that's all. And then in terms of our general health, so women unfortunately are much more likely to have health problems related to nutrition. We are much more likely to have autoimmune disorders. So this kind of goes into my own personal background. Is I have celiac disease. I come from a family who has celiac disease. So that's an autoimmune disorder characterized by a sensitivity to gluten. And basically, when I ingest gluten, it basically tricks my body into attacking itself, essentially. And what happens is primarily the spot that gets attacked is your small intestine. And when your small intestine gets attacked, that affects the way that you can absorb nutrients. So not only is a food causing my problem, it's affecting the way that I can use my food. There was a point in high school where I was so underweight because I wasn't absorbing any of the food I was eating. I actually had a teacher pull me aside and was like, I say this from a loving place. Is everything okay? He was worried that I had an eating disorder because I was so thin. And I was just like, I'm fine, I'm eating, I just can't gain any weight. And I ended up getting diagnosed, got blood work done, and I was actually deficient in about 15 different things. And I remember the nurse, I'll never forget this, she said, I wouldn't be donating any blood right now. And I went, well, why? And she's like, 1, you need all the blood that you can get right now. And 2, I think they'd be better off without yours. And I went, oh, thank you. Okay. So what happens is I had to change my diet. I changed my diet. I eliminated gluten. My gut healed. I'm able to absorb the nutrients now. And I am, now 40 pounds heavier than I was in high school. And, able to thrive, able to, play a collegiate sport, able to, keep up with everything that I'm doing. So nutrition is key. That's just one example. We can talk about things like diabetes, cardiovascular disease, all kinds of things that women are chronic pain, for example. 70% of the chronic pain population is women, and we know that diet can affect pain. So why don't we talk more about that? Our third thought, a woman and her nutrition demonstrate love. And this is one of my favorite things to discuss. So Like we were talking about earlier, eating delicious and nutritious foods is a form of self-care and self-love. You need to love yourself and care for yourself enough and respect yourself enough to not inflict harm on it. Sitting down and, actually sitting down, not sitting in front of the TV and looking at your plate and being like, wow, look at all the things on my plate that are going to, make my eyesight better and make my kidneys function better and just make me sleep better at night. And, give me the energy I need to chase after my kids as they run around, tornadoing up the living room. Like, look at this plate. This is a pretty awesome plate. It's not just food, it's way more than food. And so by picking things that can provide you with that energy is a form of self-care and self-love. Kind of going off of that, I'll duck down to the third point. Taking care of our bodies is also an expression for our love for God. We are told in the Bible to respect our temples, take care of our temples. Our body is our temple. And God gave us this gift of our body. And if God thought we were worthy, then we need to think we're worthy of taking care of it. So a lot of the time, it's usually discussed in terms of, not doing drugs and not drinking excessively and things like that, which is all true, but nobody really talks about eating habits and, keeping ourselves in shape and, taking care of the temple. There's also the example of when Jesus is talking about building a house on a solid foundation. He was talking about, the church and everything, but I think that metaphor is also perfect for the way that we eat. So he said that a house or a temple built on sand will not survive the storm. A house or a temple that's built on rock and has a solid foundation will withstand any storm. So we need to give our bodies the building blocks, the food, to build a solid foundation so that we can survive life's storms. That is crucial. And the other thing is that when we eat well, like God gave us the authority over plants and animals. God gave us the authority. He gave us all these things to eat. Try new foods. He made them so that we could function, that we could carry out our purpose. Don't dismiss them. Take care of them. That also goes into how we grow our food, how we choose to protect the environment, how we choose to raise, the meat we eat. If you choose to eat meat, can we do that in a humane way? Respect the gifts that God gave us. Respect the body that God gave us. And the third thing is sharing nutritional knowledge. In my opinion, I'm sure you guys have all heard of the 5 love languages. I would like to say that there is a 6th love language, and it is food. Food to me is a love language. It is my primary love language. So sharing nutritional knowledge with our friends and family is a love language. It's a way of expressing to our friends and family, I love you so much, that I care about you so much, that I want to fuel you. I want my love to be shown to you through food so that you can leave this house and make a difference. I want to do that for you. So in my opinion, nutrition is a love language. Food is a love language. It's something that we should be excited about. So now I'm going to do a nutrition 3-2-1. And I will say that this is not mine. This is not my idea. This was inspired by Gina Warfel. She is a registered dietitian out in California. I have her links to her social media and her website. And I would highly recommend going and signing up for her newsletter. Every Sunday she sends out a newsletter, and it's called Nutrition 3-2-1. And she does 3 nutrition concepts, 2 healthy meal ideas, and 1 mindset shift. So Gina, I was inspired by you today to do Nutrition 3-2-1 for the second half of this presentation, but I'm going to switch it up a little bit. So I'm going to do 3 nutrients that are important for women, 2 practical ways to get more of them, and 1 mindset shift. So I will also pin her contact information that is on this slide in the chat when I'm finished the talk today. So don't worry if you don't get it right away. So the three nutrients, I had a hard time picking my top three that I think that women need to get more of, because they're all very important, but I narrowed it down to three. One, protein; two, B vitamins as a whole; and then three, iron. So first, going into protein. So protein is a macronutrient, meaning it is one of the larger, nutrients we need more of, essentially. So there's three macronutrients: your carbs, your fats, and your proteins. And protein is one that is essential basically for everything. A lot of people really think about protein and they think about muscles and they're like, yeah, bodybuilder. But it does much more than that. It is essential for muscles and for building muscle and all that stuff, but it is essential for immune system function. It is essential for creating hormones and our endocrine system, so that our bodies, parts of our bodies, can talk to one another. All kinds of stuff. And a lot of studies have shown that a lot of women in America are not meeting their protein needs and during the day. And mainly this stems from breakfast practices. Protein is one that is very unique to everybody. You can actually go online, you can type in protein calculator, and it's based off of your weight, actually, how much protein that you need. So that's why when you look on the back of a nutrition label, there really is never a percent recommended percent daily value on there, because it's different for everybody. Now, when I say breakfast, this is again one that a lot of women are like, oh, I didn't eat breakfast because, I was trying to get my kids out the door. So a lot of these studies that show, that women aren't meeting their protein needs, a lot of it stems from that skipping breakfast and not getting enough, or just not getting enough protein at breakfast. So when you don't get enough protein, you actually can go on to develop a condition called hypoproteinemia. And I think for the most part, a lot of us may have some form of this if we're not meeting our protein needs that we just weren't aware of. And I mean, it's a very easy fix. It's just consuming more protein. I have a friend who's walking through this right now. And I was explaining to her some of the symptoms and she went, oh my gosh, I think that might be what's going on. So when you have not enough protein, you have fatigue and weakness. You get recurrent infections because, like I said, protein is vital for your immune system. And you have thinning, breaking, hair falling out. Your hair just isn't what it was. You find that it's breaking, it's super thin, it's just super fragile. Brittle nails, you're breaking your nails all the time. Dry skin, other nutritional deficiencies. And then one that's really interesting to me is you will actually crave protein. My friend who's walking through this, she's like, I was on the phone with her one night and she's like, I really want to eat a bowl of ground beef, a bowl of hamburger. That's it. I just want some meat. And I just went, I think we might have figured out what your problem is here. So I was like, I'm not a doctor, not a medical doctor. I'm hopefully in July going to be a PhD doctor. But I would suggest you go see a doctor and get some blood work done and see if that's what's going on. A simple blood test and then a change of diet can be very, very helpful. Second is our B vitamins. So our B vitamins, there's a kind of overarching classification for 8 different vitamins. And they all do all kinds of stuff, but primarily their main function together and why they're all grouped together is they are critical for energy production. So they are partly responsible for helping us take the food we eat and creating it into usable energy. So if you can imagine, if you are low on B vitamins, your body starts to not be able to get the energy it needs from the foods that you eat. So B vitamins are important for energy production. They're important for metabolism. Basic, tiny, if you're going to go into tiny cellular functioning. They're important for your red blood cells, digestion, appetite regulation, your eyesight, they go on to make certain hormones, and they also can affect your muscle tone. So B vitamins, again, are one that often a lot of women are low in. You often hear about people saying, oh, I got to go get my vitamin B12 shot because I'm super tired. Well, the reason you're super tired is because, that vitamin B12 is important for energy production. So you're going to start feeling fatigue. You're going to start feeling weakness if you can't get the energy you need from the foods that you're eating. And the last nutrient that I picked, like I said, it was really tough to narrow these down, but I picked 3, is iron. Again, all of these nutrients kind of all come from the same kind of food groups. They all come from protein-rich foods, things like meat, fish, tofu, beans, all that stuff. But iron is very important because it is actually a key little atom, key little carrier in our red blood cells that helps bring oxygen from our lungs to the rest of our body. So without iron, we wouldn't be able to do that. Iron is primarily found in those red blood cells. So 70% of your iron in your body is in your red blood cells. So that's why when you bite your tongue or your lip and you taste your blood, it tastes like metal. It's because there's a lot of iron in there. That's all. It's a good thing. It's supposed to taste like that. It helps our muscles use oxygen once it gets there. It helps convert our food into energy. It's another one of those nutrients that is required for all those chemical reactions to take place so that they can go from food to usable energy in the body. So now 2 practical ways to get them. And I kind of going to throw you guys for a little bit of a loop because you expect me to just list foods that we would use. And I feel like that's so super expected. So I wanted to be a little unexpected. So number 1, my 2 practical ways to get more of them. Number 1 is eat the real rainbow. For a long time, I would just say eat the rainbow. And then someone reminded me that that's trademarked by Skittles, so I probably shouldn't be saying that. But then 2, people would say, well, candy is rainbow colored and, this is, this Dorito is orange. And I'm like, does that count? And I'm like, well, no. So I say eat the real rainbow. And by real, I mean things that you can find that don't have a food label on them. Things like fruits and vegetables. If you notice when you buy fresh meat or even frozen meat, it doesn't really have a food label with it at all. So that's what I mean by real. The times you get a food label shoved on there normally is when it has been going through some type of processing. The only way they're going to be able to get the information to put on the food label is to process it. So eat real foods, eat whole foods, things that don't have a food label. And the rainbow, eat colorful. If this is one of the things that I love, it makes it so easy, is to just look at your plate tonight at lunch. This is lunch, so you could even look at your plate now. And it's almost like a game. How many colors can I get on my plate in one go? And if I can get like all of the rainbow, Roy G. Biv, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet, that's a winning meal. You don't have to get all 7, but try and get at least 3 or 4 colors on your plate. Make it vibrant, make it fun, make it pleasing to the eye. Have fun with it. Because the thing is in those colors is where a lot of the nutrition lies. That's where a lot of your vitamins are, a lot of what are called polyphenols, which are really potent antioxidants, which help prevent against things like cancer and Parkinson's. And it's all in the color as well. And number 2 is revisit my cooking and storage techniques. And this is where I want to also mention another woman who is inspired this point. This is actually my aunt, Kelly Clark, and her information is down there as well. Again, I'll post that in the comment section afterwards, so don't feel like you have to rush to get it written down. But she is very passionate about the way that we cook and store our foods. So she talks a lot about the enemies of nutrition. So some of them is heat, light, water, things that we cook with all the time, but we don't really think about. So in terms of cooking techniques, not cooking at a super, super high heat, because what happens is it's going to kill off any of the vitamins and minerals, denature proteins. It's going to turn the oils in the pan into free radicals when it's at a super, super high heat. And free radicals are not good for our bodies. Storing our oils and our fats, storing them out of the light, because light can actually oxidize the fatty acids as well and turn them into basically these almost little cancer machines, is what we were talking about over Christmas. Storing your fruits and vegetables in darker places, because the light can actually kill off the vitamins. There's a reason you have a light in your fridge that turns off when you close the door. It's not just for energy saving purposes. It's also because a lot of the fruits and vegetables and the vitamins and minerals are sensitive to light. So vitamin C and vitamin A especially are very sensitive to light. Water is another one. So getting away from boiling things. Boiling things are super easy, but one example is if you've ever boiled broccoli, for example, and then you pour the water out afterwards, it's green. Remember what I said, all of the color has your vitamins in it. So when you're pouring out that green water, you're pouring out a lot of vitamins. So getting into things like steaming, if you have there's certain special tools you can get to help cook with that so that you can avoid boiling. Blanching, even when you boil them for like 30 seconds and then dump them into cold water so that the cooking process stops. And then the last one is air. So again, anyone who has had an avocado knows how sensitive they are to air. You cut it open and then you turn around, or an apple even, you turn around and it's brown. That's oxidization. So again, storing things properly, storing them in airtight containers, storing them again in that vegetable drawer. That vegetable drawer in your fridge is airtight for a reason. It's to prevent the air from getting in there as well. So like I said, Kelly Clark, she's an RD out in California. This is her wheelhouse. So if you're interested more on that topic, her information will be there below. And finally, one mindset shift towards food. I know as women, again, there's a lot of pressure from society in all aspects of our life, and it can be very tiresome. And you go on the internet and you see, well, you shouldn't be eating this, and eggs are bad, and calories are bad, and carbs are bad, and this is bad, and this is bad. So, and then a lot of the narrative too is if you eat this way, you're gonna die. It's just like, whoa, okay, like negative Nelly, negative, negative, negative. So it's actually caused a lot of us, women in particular from these studies, to have very, very bad relationships with food. This leads to things like eating disorders, disordered eating that aren't full-blown eating disorders, lead to nutritional deficiencies. And then we can get very confused and just kind of shut down and just be like, you know what, I'm going to die anyway, so I'm going to just eat a certain way. So instead of thinking that if I don't eat a certain way, I'm going to die, I want you to shift your mindset to, if I eat a certain way, I'm going to live. And not just live like a meh life. I am going to live a full life if I eat a certain way. I was given food for pleasure and to fuel my purpose. God said in the Bible that we were given food and drinks for pleasure. That should be the first thing. Food is something that is meant to be enjoyed. And then if you notice in the Bible, when they talk about food, they talk about eating together, eating with people. Get back around the table with your family. In my family, it was you were at the dinner table at 6 o'clock, or else. It was you were there, and everyone always said, I want to come to the Strath family dinners because they go on for like 2 hours and you all have fun. And that's where we, you know, reflect on our day. We would do our highs and lows of the day. And, you know, those are some of my best memories from childhood are around the table. So turn off the phones, turn off the tablets, turn off the TVs, get together, get with your family, get to know your parents. If you're a kid watching this, parents, get to know your kids, what they've been doing during the day. There's so much research to support the psychology of eating together around the table. And I mean, when we do Cooking Well, one of the highlights is when we get to sit down and eat together around the table and just talk to one another and get to know one another and just open up, and just, it's fun. It's a fun experience. Food brings people together. And a lot of cultures, especially East Asian cultures, food is a very, very important time. Meal times are very, very important. They are critical to the culture. And there's even like certain practices that you do when you're eating. So it's very, very important. It's a pleasurable experience. Your food should taste good, and it should also make you feel good. We talk about in Cooking Well, the odometer, using your body as like this odometer. And after you eat, where is your odometer sitting? Is it at 100 or is it at 20 miles an hour? Do I need to take a nap, or can't I do the things I want to do this afternoon? So your body will tell you if you're feeling sluggish, if you've got brain fog, if you just feel like you just need a nap all day. That's your body telling you something. If you feel like you can do the things, you can run around and chase your kids, you can complete your job without nodding off at your desk, you can, go and be social, of course, during these times, being social in creative ways. I can go do that without being exhausted. You don't have to be exhausted. So your body will tell you that. And to that end, to fuel your purpose, God gave us food to fuel our purpose. And without the food, we won't be able to do the things that God has called us to do. He was very particular. He knew that we would need fuel, and he knows the right ones. I call myself just an observer of creation. I know a lot of the times people think that science and religion can't really commingle, but in my life they overlap completely. I just am an observer and trying to understand creation. It's all laid out for us. It all is laid out perfectly for us. I'm just trying to translate it into human language that we can all understand. So so it's supposed to be happy. It's supposed to be fun. Cooking is fun. Eating is fun. Eating shouldn't make you feel guilty after. You should be feeling good afterwards. Even if you do have a cheat meal, you know what? You're like I was telling Lady Pam this morning, I got paid today and I had been really good. So I had Chick-fil-A for breakfast. I was like, you know what? I don't do that all the time. So I'm going to do it one time because I feel like my soul needs it. So I'm not going to beat myself up over that because I had Chick-fil-A one time. I'm not going to feel guilty about that because it was a pleasurable experience for me. I just don't make a habit out of it. And I did feel a little afterwards, but it's not something I'm going to regret. And then when I eat lunch after this, I'm going to have bean salad. I'm going to have a bruschetta toast. I'm going to have things that I think I managed to get all 7, 8 colors in this lunch that I have planned. So it's for pleasure and to fuel your purpose. Eating is not negative. It is positive. It is a very, very positive thing. Eat to live, not don't eat these things because you're going to die, because that's kind of a very hard mindset to kind of walk around and live in. So I submit to you to try and have a different mindset towards your food. With that being said, if you want to talk more about what kind of foods you want to eat, talk more about different macronutrients, micronutrients, how foods can impact our health. And, maybe someone who's got diabetes or got heart disease, or maybe you have heart disease or diabetes. I highly recommend that you reach out to me, or you can even reach out to Lady Pam. She has all of our contact information, and see if you can get involved in Cooking Well. We do all of this. We talk about all of this, but in greater detail. And we love it. Judy is super wonderful, and we are always looking forward to doing new classes. But also, if you have a question that you're, dying to ask, here's all my contact information. Again, it'll be put in the comment section. And yeah, just reach out. I have Instagram. I linked the Cooking Well and my personal Instagram, Facebook, Cooking Well Together. I'm starting to try and keep with the times and do TikToks. I'm not the best at them. So if you have kids and they want to follow me on TikTok, that's cool. I do a lot of science stuff. I try and make science videos in under a minute. And then Twitter. And then, as always, underneath, if you have a question, there, my email address is there as well. I'm welcome, like I said, I welcome interruption. I welcome questions. And that's all I have for you. So if there are any questions, I will take them now. If not, I'll hand it back over to Lady Pam.
Larissa, this was so great. This was awesome. And I just had, so we have always a different type of audience. And so I like to kind of talk about our seniors. And so you talked about menopause. What are some, well, let me back up. Let me start with the one for pain.
Okay.
I know quite a few people who live with pain, whether it's through lupus or arthritis. And I know you're a pain expert. What are some foods that maybe we should stay away from to help facilitate our healing? I know you talked about the rainbow, so we kind of know, I guess, what to eat, but what are some foods we need to minimize?
Okay, so foods that we need to minimize for pain. To put it in a broad sense, refined carbohydrates. And when I say refined carbohydrates, basically white sugar, any white flour, things that have been very heavily processed. We have done experiments and diet interventions where we will put people with knee osteoarthritis and chronic low back pain on low carb diets. Not quite keto, because keto has its own nuancy issues, but a lower carb diet where it's about under 50 to 70 grams of carbs a day. And they see a ton of pain relief, irrespective of weight loss in their joints, which is super awesome. A lot of them go off of their opioids. A lot of them aren't taking anti-inflammatories anymore, just because they made these dietary changes. So when you eliminate the refined carbohydrates and you do go on a lower carbohydrate diet, the foods that you have to eat are rainbow foods, ton of vegetables, fruit. You're not eating things like white rice and white bread. If you are eating grains, they're usually whole grains. They have fiber in them. They have more color. They have more of a brown color. They come in a variety of shades of brown. If you look at, multigrain bread versus white Wonder Bread. So we find that eliminating especially added sugars. If you go on your food label and you look at added sugars, try to keep that, I would say, under 20 grams a day. If you're in chronic pain, that goes for anybody, but for especially if you have chronic pain, because sugar can go on, and these excess carbohydrates can go on to create what's called oxidative stress, which is just an abundance of harmful compounds that are, a normal byproduct of metabolism. And when we eat normally, our body can usually handle it. When we overeat them and we have too much added sugar and too much refined carbohydrates, everything kind of gets out of whack, and we have this buildup of these free radical compounds. And those compounds can cause pain, and they can also cause inflammation, which can cause pain as well. And then I think you had a second point about menopause too.
Yeah, menopause. What do you, because I noticed, of course, after the fourth child, and I
Hmm.
had him at 38. And then I was like, I hit 40, and I'm like, whoa, what happened here?
Yeah. You're like, my body's not my body anymore.
Right, this is not my what happened to everybody. And so how can because we have some older ones that are watching, what can we do about that?
Yeah. So again, rainbow foods for one. A lot of vegetables. I would suggest, not that fruit is bad, but if you're trying to watch your sugar, so say that you have diabetes, and you are trying to, watch your sugars as well, I would try to hit vegetables, because they don't have as much natural sugars in them. And the deeper the color, the better, the more nutrients they're going to have. So I don't know if you ever eat blueberries and then you look at your hands and they're stained. That's good. So things like that. Calcium is huge after menopause. Um, so you're going to be wanting to have, about 1,200 milligrams a day of calcium after menopause, which seems like a lot, because what happens when we go through menopause is the hormones estrogen and progesterone, they stop being produced. And estrogen, I believe, is one of the critical hormones that helps with our bone health and the formation of bones. So when we get rid of estrogen, our bones start to weaken. So we need to get more calcium, more vitamin D, to make sure we don't go on to develop things like osteoporosis. So it's usually after menopause that women will go on to develop osteoporosis.
Mm.
Um, Another one is iron. So again, that iron one, um, our women's diets are typically low in iron. And even though after menopause, you stop your menstrual cycle, so you might think, well, I don't need as much iron because I'm not getting rid of a whole bunch of iron once a month. You need almost more, because again, the hormones have changed. The way your body is navigating itself has changed. So in older women, the recommended dietary allowance is about 8 milligrams a day, it says. And then it says getting things in fiber. So whole grain bread, cereals, pasta, rice, fish, fresh fruit, and vegetables. This is really important because as we age, and especially if you have certain disorders like Parkinson's, our visceral muscles and our digestive system, everything starts to just kind of slow down. And this can lead, if we don't have enough fiber, to a lot of gastrointestinal bowel upset, bloating, constipation, things like that. So we need to make sure that we're getting enough fiber to kind of help our bodies move things along so that they don't get stuck there and get bloated, and cause even potentially blockages. This is really important, especially for people who have conditions like Parkinson's or IBS, to get enough fiber. Again, also drinking plenty of water. Drink 8-ounce glasses of water every day to help flush everything out, keep everything moving. And, just read labels. If you have any questions about food labels and, how do I even read this? Reach out to me, reach out to Gina, reach out to Kelly, reach out to Judy, reach out to Katie Ellison, who's also a part of Cooking Well. We are more than happy to help you read food labels because they can be a little complicated. Read your food labels. Make sure that you're getting, adequate amounts of calcium and your B vitamins and your fiber. So those are some things you can do as you age. I hope that answers your question.
No, that was great. That was perfect.
Okay.
It did.
Okay, good.
And so we had a couple of the questions that came in.
Okay.
And this one was asked, what is the best oil? And we talked about this in the Cooking Well class because for a while I thought it was coconut oil. And so anyway, this person wants to know what's the best cooking oil. And then another question they have is, can you do some things in moderation? We talked about that because
Yeah.
my best friend is Little Debbie.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, I love Little
I do
Debbie.
it, but she has a ton of gluten.
Yes, she does. So please address that. The best cooking oil, and can you do things in moderation?
Moderation is my life motto. My aunt, Kelly Clark, who I talked about, she lives by the 80-20 rule. 80% of the time, you're doing all right, you're doing the right things, and then 20% of the time, you can hang out with Lil Debbie, hang out with your best friends. So moderation is totally fine. Our bodies are designed to be able to handle that. It's when things become backwards, and you hang out with Lil Debbie 80% of the time and broccoli 20% of the time. That's when we start getting into some issues. So moderation, totally. I am not against, like we were talking about earlier, pizza. I love pizza. I can eat an entire pizza by myself, and I will eat an entire pizza by myself. I'm not going to limit myself sometimes. Friday night, pizza. Like moderation is great because at the same time, like I said, it's pleasurable. You're supposed to enjoy it. So you should enjoy ice cream every once in a while. Just, it's not a treat if you're having it all the time. That negates the definition of a treat. And then the best cooking oil. So to kind of elaborate on what you just mentioned about cooking oil or coconut oil, for those of you who don't know, coconut oil has been like touted as this like miracle oil. We should be using it instead of everything. And I remember I was sitting in my biochemistry class in college, and they had the list of the oils that have the most saturated fats in them. And if you're not aware, the saturated fats are your bad fats. And at room temperature, tend to be solid. So things like coconut oil, butter, anything like the meat you find in like a ribeye steak, it's not liquidy, it's solid. So I was looking at this list and I was like, there's more saturated fat in coconut oil than there is in butter. I thought coconut oil was this like great thing. And so I asked my friends who were dietitians, and they said, we have no idea what happened here. Food marketing exploded, and I was talking to Katie Ellison about this. Again, I'll put her information in the chat below, and she was talking to me about how it really picked up because it was marketed for the keto diet when keto first really took off. And people assumed that because keto was healthy, coconut oil was healthy, but in the reality, it has a ton of saturated fat in it. It's, again, in moderation, fine. If you want to use it in your desserts because it does have a particular flavor, that's fine. It's kind of the same idea with butter and all these things. But if you're cooking regularly, like if you're cooking like scrambled eggs, or you're cooking, when I make my muffins, instead of butter, I will actually substitute avocado oil instead of butter. So you want to go for things that are more liquid at room temperature. That's one thing, because that'll ensure that there's more unsaturated fatty acids in the oil. Because it's liquid and it's not solid. And the unsaturated fatty acids are your good fatty acids. So those are things that are going to go on to create hormones. They're going to go help build structures in your body. They're going to actually help reduce your cholesterol, because I know that's something as we age, we all need to watch. Monounsaturated fatty acids in particular are good at helping lower cholesterol. And so I tend to use avocado oil more because I don't like the taste of olive oil. Olive oil is another really good one. Avocado oil is a little milder. But yeah, I would probably say olive oil, I mean, it's king for a reason. Olive oil is probably the best one that you can get. And again, when we go back to storing these things, if you try and buy your oils in bottles that have color, that are usually green, in glass, because it's going to help to filter out some of the light. And then when you open it, you'll notice that there is a cap on it that kind of only has a few holes. The reason that is there is to prevent air from getting in. So not removing that little cap is really crucial, and making sure that you tighten it when you are finished with it, and then don't keep it for years. I would say, and my aunt might correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, I would say maybe 6 months. Um, if for olive oil that's stored properly in the dark, in a dark container. And don't cook at super high heats with oil. I know it can be tempting to, because you're starving, I myself included. I'm like, okay, crank up the heat because I want it to cook faster. But the reality is it can cause a lot of problems down the road over time.
So we can't fry chicken and I'm messing with you, Larissa.
Yeah, I know. Well, hey, moderation, right?
Okay.
Moderation. Moderation. So things like, yeah, so canola oil is good, a good one. Sunflower oil,
Yeah.
those
Okay.
kinds of things. Those are other really, really good ones. But yeah, just try to buy them. They're hard to find. I think, especially things with like canola oil, you can get them in there. It's still white, but it's like clouded. Like the packaging is clouded. That's good
Yeah.
too. It's not clear. You know what I mean? So watching for things like that, that'll help with the oils.
So let me ask you this because sometimes we go to Atlanta. Atlanta has this, the Cabs Farmers Market. We love
Mhm.
it. And they have palm oil. I don't know if you're familiar with
Yeah.
that, but it's like it's sort of like shortening. Is that not good then?
That's kind
Oh,
of like coconut oil. It's
yeah.
in a lot of stuff because it's cheap.
Yeah,
It's
it
very
is.
cheap. It has a good flavor. It also has a long shelf life. That's another reason why a lot of foods will use palm oil,
Okay.
and it's used like shortening. And you find it in a lot of processed baked goods. And it's usually for baking, or like you can put it and melt it down. So again, I would say, as with coconut oil, moderation is key there. Use it for flavor when you need to, if you want to have a treat. But in terms of everyday kind of cooking techniques, to start try to use more of the liquid oils. So the more solid it is, the more saturated fat it's going to have. The more liquid it is, the more unsaturated. And saturated is your bad fats, and unsaturated is your good fats.
Okay.
Mhm.
Awesome. And so let me ask you this, and maybe I don't know. So we have some moms. I'm pretty sure I'm mom
Mhm.
with smaller children.
Mhm.
And so it is so hard sometimes because when you talk about those rainbow foods, I will even saute the onions down. And I have
Yeah.
one child that can find them, just go in there and find them and pick them right out on the side of the plate.
Mhm.
But do you recommend any? So somebody's asking about a cookbook that you may have or know someone who has a cookbook, but even a cookbook not only for adults but for parents who have smaller children
Mhm.
so that we can try to, get them to eat healthier and eat the rainbow foods.
Yeah. So I have a bunch in my head. One, my aunt's website, happycarrotcooking.com. She has a lot of them, of ways that you can make them taste good. But one thing I can't believe I hadn't thought of this earlier, like in my life. But when I thought about it, I was like, that's brilliant. Children love spaghetti, right?
Hmm.
Love spaghetti. When you make your spaghetti sauce, throw in carrots, throw in broccoli, throw in spinach, throw in this, and blend it at the end.
Right.
And they'd have no idea.
I'm trying
Don't
to
plug
look.
your ears. Plug your ears. If you're a child and you're listening, plug your ears. But blend it at the end, and they have no idea that it's in there.
Good idea. Yeah.
So things. What's another one? We make upstairs. We have a baby upstairs, and we make him ice cream that's bananas and spinach. Blend it up, frozen. You scoop it out, throw it in, and he just thinks it's cool because it's green. But
Right.
all it is bananas and spinach. And we have, like, again, we have to be careful, like giving him too much, because it's like he's little, he doesn't need that much fiber. But he eats it like nobody's business. So there are tons of um, recipes online. Like I said, happycarrotcooking.com. She's got a ton of really good things. really good ways of adding in vegetables. And then there's a cookbook I'm thinking of. I have the title on the tip of my tongue that I will try to remember. If I don't remember by the end of this, I will send it to you to put out put out there. There is a cookbook that is specific for hiding vegetables. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then we have, I think this will be the last question.
Okay.
But this is so good. This is so good. So if you're trying to lose weight
Mm-hmm.
and let's say if it's someone who, um, let's say they're 300 pounds and they're trying to lose weight, or for anybody who's trying to lose weight, what
Mm-hmm.
is the right way to go about doing it?
Okay. So first, in terms of tangible results, I would say 2 pounds a week max.
Okay.
A lot of diet companies, their thing is they're like, you can lose 50 pounds in a month. And it's like, that is not healthy. That is a scary amount of weight to lose in a month, because your body is used to functioning at that weight, right? So you need to almost really slowly taper it down to where it's functioning in a different weight. So it's recommended about 2 pounds a week. So don't be discouraged if you lose 2 pounds in a week. That's healthy too. So in terms of tangible results, um, and then in losing weight, so again, this can be unique. Women are unique in that, men, they eat less and then all of a sudden they just lose a ton of weight. Women, we can go into a calorie deficit, and some people just don't lose weight. So if that's you, you might need to take a look at, what am I eating? What is making up those calories? Um, Looking at the proportion of carbohydrates to fats to proteins. Maybe I need to cut back on my carbs, because what your body does with carbohydrates when you eat too much of them is it stores them as fat. So in order, and basically what you do is, this is how keto diets kind of are great weight loss tools, is you don't eat any carbohydrates. So you have to use the stored fat in your body to produce energy. And so you lose weight. Now, keto, I will caution, long-term effects of keto aren't fabulous. There's some issues with heart disorders that are coming out as things go on. So if you choose to do a keto diet and you feel good, that's your wheelhouse, that's fine. Just be careful that, long term, it's not really that sustainable. So for me, in terms of if I were to try and lose weight, for me, I would say take a look at what you're eating. Am I eating, all carbohydrates? If I'm eating all carbohydrates, maybe add in a little more healthy fats. Maybe add in a little more protein, because I'm probably not eating as much protein. And the thing is it takes your body longer and it takes your body more energy to break down fats and proteins. You actually expend more calories to get calories from fats and protein. So more healthy fats, more proteins, lower-ish carbs, and then stick around your caloric intake that makes you feel good. You shouldn't feel starving when you're losing weight. That's not fun and
Right.
not sustainable.
Right. No, this is
Yeah.
good. Good. That's good. I hope that answers our viewers' question. And then, should we stop eating at a certain time? We do a lot of Googling, which we probably should stop Googling stuff at our house.
Mhm.
But we've been told, your last meal should be at 6. And sometimes I feel like I'm starving before I go to bed. So what is a good time to stop eating a dinner?
So a lot of the research on that comes from intermittent fasting as well. And a lot of the argument of not eating past 6 o'clock is because you're going to go to bed and you're not going to be expending a ton of energy of what you just ate. I'm like you, or I will eat at 6 and then I will be hungry.
Mhm.
I'm of the proponent of if I am hungry, I'm honoring my body and I'm having a snack, regardless of what time it is. Some people don't like to do that because they don't like the way it makes them feel, like because they feel like they've laid down and then they have a brick in their stomach because they aren't moving. So I'm sorry, I can't give you a clear answer on that. It's going to be based off of how you feel. If you feel like you need to honor your body and have a snack before you go to bed and it makes you feel good, have a snack before bed. That's totally fine. If you find that you have a snack before bed and you wake up in the middle of the night with a brick in your stomach, then don't have a snack before bed. Everyone is unique. God made us all very unique. So the jury, in my opinion, in the research world, is out on that one. I leave that to the jurisdiction of your own bodily autonomy. In that, if it makes you feel good, do it. If it doesn't make you feel good, don't do it.
Gotcha. Okay, that's good to know because in my house and my husband and I, we laugh about it. I said, listen, I have to go to bed on a full stomach. I'm sorry. So,
Yeah,
so
me too. Or I don't sleep.
I wake up hungry. I'm not good when I wake up hungry. So
Mm-hmm.
okay, so that's awesome. And then we also talked about how much time you got, Larissa.
Oh, I got time.
Okay, good. Okay, good.
We got
Okay,
lots of time.
we're gonna keep chatting just for a little bit. And so, what kind of nuts do you recommend? We also talked about this in the cooking well.
Mm-hmm.
I told you I'm a cashew fanatic. That's my
Oh
favorite.
yeah.
But do you recommend one over the other? And I remember you suggesting a couple of them.
Yeah, so they all kind of vary in their nutritional content, but overall, nuts are a really good source of healthy fats, calcium, iron, vitamins. But if you're looking specifically to look at things like omega 3s, for example, walnuts are super awesome. They're have more omega 3s than a cashew would. Now, is that to say that a cashew is worse to eat than a walnut? Probably not. So I always recommend mixed nuts because then you get the best of like everybody in one little bowl. But walnuts are really good. Almonds are really great sources of calcium. Pistachios are good. Brazil nuts have a lot of fat in them. Brazil nuts have so much fat in them that you can actually take a match and light them on fire and they burn like a candle.
Hmm,
that's
wow.
that's one thing I learned in a chemistry class. Was like, yeah, you can burn Brazil nuts for fuel, and I was like, whoa. So they have a lot of these fatty acids in them. So I would say walnuts are up there, almonds are up there, cashews are up there, um, peanuts are up there, nut butters, as long as they don't add in sugar and extra salt. Those are always really good. Just make sure that they just don't have any added sugar in them. Um, Also, really good sources of protein as well as those fats.
Okay, good. Okay. And then one last question. I know we talked about, eating before you go to bed, but if, you have to do it, I guess what kind of food should you eat before you go to bed? Should we stick to those rainbow foods or I guess something like nuts? Though I might get like a handful of nuts or I may have something like peanut butter toast, peanut butter sandwich. But what do you recommend before you go to bed?
I would recommend just that because you are going to want it to have some protein in it. Because one, you're going to want it to keep you full through the evening. And then two, there's a lot of amino acids, one specifically called tyrosine, um, that when you eat it, your body turns it into melatonin.
Mm,
So your body doesn't kind of make it out of thin air. It makes it out of amino acids. So it's actually a precursor for melatonin. It's also a precursor. So you can actually buy like sleep aids and they'll say L-tyrosine on it. And it's just pure tyrosine. And you eat it and it helps you sleep. It's for people who are sensitive to melatonin. They still feel like they're groggy when they wake up. The way I stand on it is if you can get it from a food and not have to spend oodles of money on, gummies, I would recommend that. So a peanut butter sandwich is great because you're going to be getting those essential amino acids. Nuts are good. I would always, if you're good with dairy, I would always have a glass of milk before bed. Um, just because it's got protein, it's got some fats in it, it's got some carbs in it. And I would also have peanut butter and crackers. That's usually my go-to: peanut butter and crackers and a glass of milk.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Well, I'm not too far off then. Great.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, well, good. Well, thank you so much, Larissa. I really appreciate this. You went over your time just a little bit, but thank you for your availability.
Oh,
I'm
that's
just,
fine.
yeah, this was great. And so I'm going to do just a few announcements for those who are watching, but then I want you to come back at the end and just go ahead and verbally say once again. I kind of put it in the chat room just how everybody can find you on social media.
Hmm.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we're just going to go through this just real quick. Bear with me one second. So, all right. So, everyone who's new to our church, don't forget we are in the year of 2021 and it is the year of reconstruction. So, we are believing that God is going to reconstruct everything in your life, including your nutrition. And so, don't forget to keep that in the forefront of your mind. And then, of course, you can follow us on Facebook and on YouTube. A lot of you are watching us on Facebook. On YouTube, we are BHAM And then you can go back every Sunday of this month. Pastor Mason did a wonderful series on the Power of a Woman series. So you can go back and listen to those. You can go back and listen to all of the wonderful and beautiful women that we had this month. If you have a business, you especially want to listen to Denise Hamilton and Nikki Ivory. And then Pam Sigmund, she did a segment on a woman in her fitness. Valerie Wilson, who is a licensed counselor. She did a woman in her self-care. And then of course today you had Miss Larissa Strath. So you can go back and watch that and share that as many times as you like. Don't forget about all of our virtual hangouts. We have virtual hangouts for seniors, for men. The children is tonight at 6 p.m. Parents, make sure your children are logged in by 6. We have one for the teens. We have women that are on a quarterly basis. We're going to have family game nights on a quarterly basis. But tomorrow we have our small group, and it's called The Invisible War. It is a lesson on temptation. So we all need that because all of us are tempted in one way or another, especially in the area of food. I just thought I'd plug that in and everything else. Talking about nutrition. And then today we end our 40 days of power through fasting and praying. Don't forget tonight at 7, we're having a special ending service right here on the Facebook Live and on YouTube as well. And so we're going to have some powerful things. Pastor Mason going to actually talk to us a little bit as we get ready to end this 40-day of power through fasting and praying. And then this Sunday, we're going to have our drive up resurrection service. Going to be in your cars, or you could bring your lawn chairs and sit outside. But we're going to be social distance and everybody's going to be maxed up. Virtual handshakes, everybody, and virtual hugs. And then also for the month of April, I'm really excited about this. We normally have a etiquette class for our children, but since COVID has came, we decided to do it virtual. And so we changed up the topics a little bit. And so we're going to have 4 people who I've grown to love and who I know. They're going to talk about the different etiquettes that's really important to children. And Monique Tate, she's a school teacher. She's going to talk about Zoom etiquette, what children should and should not be doing on Zoom. And then Nellie Harris is going to talk about self-care etiquette. If you've had that conversation with your child that you need to take a bath every day, then this etiquette, this Zoom etiquette is for them. And then Miss Karen, she works with a school system. She's going to talk about cell phone etiquette. And then Mishada is going to talk about communication etiquette. What is appropriate to say and not to say, and how we should communicate with one another and to our parents. And then on the 18th of April, that's on a Sunday, right after worship service, immediately after worship service, we're having our virtual business expo. So if you have a business or you know someone who has a business and they want to go on the live feed and talk about it, please contact myself at tcowi.org, or you can call 205-451-7866. Don't forget our prayer room call every Monday and Wednesday and Friday at 6 a.m. That number is 515-604-9324. And of course, we have just a lot of things going on. We talked about all these things that are going on a weekly basis, but our website is bhambc.org. If you just didn't catch any of these, all of our announcements are there. We're also on the My Sunday app. You go to your app store, download My Sunday, and then locate Birmingham Bible Church. Then you can follow us that way as well. So, Miss Larissa, thank you again for joining us. I'm just checking the feed. Okay, nobody say anything else. And so, if you can tell us again how we can contact you.
Okay. I also put this in the comment section. I found that cookbook. It's called Deceptively Delicious. That's what it's called. I will put the Amazon link in the chat or comment section. But if you want to find me, again, I welcome the interruption. So on Instagram, you can follow Cooking Well at cooking.well, or follow my personal page at Larissa Jane 6. Facebook, we are at Cooking Well Together. TikTok at Larissa the PhD. Twitter at Larissa Strath. And then my email is just lstrath@uab.edu.
Got it. Awesome. Thank you so much. I'm going to spell this deceptively delicious. You make sure I'm spelling it right.
Okay.
But DECEPTIVELY, delicious, DELICIOUS.
Correct.
Okay, I'm going to get that cookbook.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Miss Larissa.
Thank you. It was such an honor, and I'm so honored to be talking to everyone who listened. Thank you so much, whether it be live or later on. But
yeah,
thanks so much.
And I think we're going to have you again later on this year, just because so you can even talk about specific things. I know every month we try to, like February is the heart health month.
Mm-hmm.
And, it would have been great just kind of thinking back retrospectively that you could have came on and talked about heart disease and what kind of foods we can kind of, to make sure that we're not susceptible to those heart diseases. And so we're going to call on you again.
Oh, I welcome the call.
Good. Thank you so much, Larissa. Thank you for dedicating your time to us on today.
You're
And
welcome.
thank you so much for joining us. Please be safe. Thank you, Larissa.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. And goodbye, Greta.
Bye. She says she sleeps somewhere.
Sure.
She says bye.